Hotty toddy, Ole Miss fans, and welcome to the Brad and Chad Show on the OM Network. Brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans, made in the USA. This is the show by and for Ole Miss fans, where you'll get expert insight and analysis on Ole Miss athletics. And now, here are your hosts, former Rebels Chad Flowers and retired NFL star Bradley Sowell.
Podcast time.
Welcome, Rebel fans. Brad and Chad Show on a Wednesday, October 19th. I'm Chad Flowers. Bradley Sowell. How are you today, sir?
Good, man. Good. Just getting ready. I think the Rebs are preparing for their toughest test of the year. And we got a good guest on today that he's in that enemy territory, Booger McFarland. And I think the Rebs got a lot on their hands this week, and I think Vegas thinks the same as well.
You're going down to Baton Rouge this weekend, right?
Yeah, we're supposed to make it down. Hopefully I'll leave in one piece, but we'll see. We'll see how the game goes. It's a wrong person pops off. I could be in some trouble, or maybe they'll be in a little trouble. Who knows?
For sure. And so, if you're joining us today, this is where we usually do our midweek preview of the next opponent for the Rebels, which is this week going to be the LSU Tigers. And like Bradley mentioned, we've got a really special guest, Booger McFarland, LSU grad, two-time Super Bowl champion. You probably also see him on ESPN. He's an analyst for college football on ABC. He also does their NFL coverage, Monday Night Countdown, as well as 100 other shows that ESPN has. Booger, how are you today, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What's up, Booger?
So we'll just kind of get right into it. So, as an LSU grad, I know you don't get to go watch college football games in person, but that means you still get to watch a lot of college football, I would imagine, with their coverage. How would you assess Brian Kelly's first season with the Tigers so far?
Well, I think you have to first remember where he started. When he took over, LSU had just finished playing a bowl game, but they had, 38, 39 scholarship guys. They had a wide receiver playing quarterback. So BK gets the job, and he's got to come in and basically overhaul the roster. He's got to figure out the quarterback situation. He tried to get Miles Brennan to come back just to give some depth. And so when you start there and then you go to where we are now at 5-2, things got off to a rough start. First game of his era against Florida State, some mistakes there. Tennessee just kind of was in a different class, I think, from a talent standpoint, and I think they're proven to be all you thought they were going to be. So to be 5-2, starting where he did, if you're an LSU fan and you're not happy, now obviously we're not going to always settle for 2 losses, but I think year one where he started 5-2, I think you got to feel pretty good about where LSU is right now, and seemingly the arrow's pointing upward, which is always a good thing.
Absolutely. Have you had a chance to watch much of Ole Miss and what Lane's been doing in Oxford so far this year?
Absolutely. I watch it every Saturday, man. That's the good thing about not going to the games. You get a chance to watch a lot of college football. And, I've known Lane for a long time. I've known him, his brother Chris, his dad, Monty, was my defensive coordinator. So the Kiffin family is always near and dear to me just because I've been around him for a long time. Lane has been one of the best football coaches that I've ever been around for a long time. His ability to talk offense and know offense has always been outstanding. I think when you look at what he does and how he does it, there's a lot of misnomers. Everybody thinks it's this wide open spread attack that's going to throw it all up and down the field. And Lane is the one coordinator, I think, that does it backwards. Most people use the run to set up the pass. He uses the pass to set the run up. Like, this is a running football team. They want to run the football. It was that way last year. It's that way this year, regardless of who the quarterback is going to be. He's got 2 really, really good backs in Judkins and Evans. Some really good receivers on the outside. And Jackson Dart just can't, screw it up. And so far he hasn't.
Yeah, Booger, he's speaking of Ole Miss's run game. Ole Miss is bringing a running back out there this week, a freshman having a massive season. And I know if you look back at your career when you were at LSU, you actually came in as a freshman and had 70-plus tackles and had a really good freshman year. Walk us through what it's like as a freshman to come in and be that good. And how do you kind of temper your expectations, or is he just doing it based off of what he doesn't know and all that?
Yeah, I think being a freshman only matters like the first couple of weeks of the season. Like, then you're trying to get used to all the hoopla about being a college player and all these different things. After that, it's just football. Like once you get used to the speed of the game and you start to understand how fast the game moves, then man, your natural athletic ability, your natural instincts just take over. So I started my first game ever as a freshman against Texas A&M. When they broke the huddle, I saw Leland McElroy, and I don't know if it was sweat or if I actually peed my pants, but I felt a lot of water drizzling down. It was because it's different. Because 4 months earlier, I was in high school playing against small school guys who are never ever going to amount to much, and now I'm at College Station in front of 90,000 people at the time, and there's Leland McElroy breaking the huddle. And so once you get past the shock that I'm here, then man, just go play ball. And I think by now we're in game 6, 7, 8 for some of these guys. They're just playing football now, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you were playing back in the late 90s, was there did you feel a rivalry between Ole Miss and LSU? I know back in the 50s and 60s, we'll see Billy Cannon's run 100 times on Saturday from CBS, but was there much of a rivalry between the two schools when you were playing?
I think it's always a rivalry, man, because you got two states that are bordering, and it's a different level of rivalry for every school. Auburn and Alabama is kind of the quintessential rivalry,
sure.
But LSU and Florida has been a rivalry just because of the two states and recruiting. LSU and Ole Miss just because that started for a long time. Even with Archie, Louisiana going to play at Ole Miss, Eli, Louisiana going to play at Ole Miss. The states touch each other, recruiting, the constant battling. You talk about Halloween night. Like there's so many things that have brought these two teams together. And let's face it, it's only been amped up over the last few years, especially, with Lane and Ole Miss is getting back to the point where they're becoming of national relevance.
Mm-hmm.
I even think about the Leonard Fournette run when Leonard Fournette hit the Ole Miss player. You think about last year with how the Grove was just buzzing and how everything was going last year. So, every year it's been something. The only thing I wish about this year is that I wish the game was a night game, but hey, it's the 3:30 CBS game. It'll be fun. I think that Ole Miss deserves to be ranked where they are. I think they've shown that they are a really, really good team, and Lane is a really, really good coach. And for LSU, again, it's 5-2. They got to feel really, really good about where they are. And so I expect a good game. Hopefully, it lives up to that.
Yeah, you look at it. Booger, you look at it. Both teams are actually fighting for the West, with Alabama getting knocked off. So it gives both teams new hope. LSU still they control their own destiny. Ole Miss controls their own. Alabama controls their own as well. So if you look at it, LSU's got a ton to play for. So Ole Miss got to show up ready. Booger, how'd you choose LSU? Let's get into that. I always like asking guys how they chose their school, especially former players.
Yeah, man. So for me, dude, like it was LSU, Arkansas, Tennessee, Notre Dame. And at the end of the day, after I took all the visits, it basically came down to this. Where could I go to school that at the time my mom didn't have to get on the plane to come watch me play? She could get in the car. And at the time, it was a 2.5-hour drive. It's kind of shortened now just because, roads have gotten better and all. But at the end of the day, why would I go somewhere else where, maybe at the time the football was better, but it was just going to be a little bit of an inconvenience for my family to come watch me play. And I wanted to be a part of something special. And I think when Kevin Falk committed to LSU, it kind of opened the door for everybody in that class to come. And I think what you saw then was a lot of guys think it's okay, this is really cool to stay home, man. And so, I made that decision and Jared DiNardo came and it was the whole bring back the magic thing. And, 95 kind of made it cool for all the players in Louisiana to start going back to LSU.
Do you, looking at how things have changed in college athletics from when you played to now, do you kind of feel a little envious that you didn't have the transfer portal and all the NIL deals that are happening right now?
Oftentimes more is more complicated, man. My life was simple back in the day, man. You show up, you go play. And when things didn't go well, when you got benched, you had to toughen up. Nowadays, guys get benched, they call home and say, I'm leaving the next day. Nowadays, it's not being recruited for the school, or I'm not thinking about, can my mom come watch me play? I'm thinking about how much money I can get. So oftentimes, the simpler times were the better times. And I don't envy the guys now. yeah, the money's cool, man. But at a certain point, I'm a college kid. Okay, it's 1995 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or Starkville, or Oxford. Like, I mean, if you put $5,000 in my bank account, that might last me all year.
Right.
And so now, yeah, because it was simpler times. Like, I wasn't worried about wearing designer shoes every day. I wore sweats. Like, I'm walking around a college campus, dude. I didn't need a car. We walked everywhere. Like, it was a much more intimate environment. So yeah, I would have loved to have some more money, but man, I didn't miss anything, man, as far as, NIL and the transfer portal, because sometimes more options means more problems.
So, Booger, as an analyst, I would imagine that with you being on Twitter, a lot of people accuse you of showing bias toward LSU, or you hate Alabama, or you hate Ole Miss. Honest question, do you feel like people in your profession are objective? They don't look at where they went to school compared to the rivalries that they grew up with, just telling it like it is? Is that how you kind of feel like people in your profession are?
Yes. So here's the way I handle that. When I'm talking about the football, so if a game has happened and I got to give an analysis of the game, I'm going to give an honest analysis of the game. Now, when I'm done analyzing the game, I'm an LSU fan. All right, I'm a fan. Like, if you cut me open, I bleed purple and gold. So I don't care if you think I'm biased or not. I am biased. But what I have the ability to do, I have the ability when I'm doing my job to be objective. Okay, when I'm not doing my job, you're damn right. I mean, I'll get on Twitter. You can call me a homer. You can call me whatever you want to. But I put 4 years in that school with blood, sweat, and tears. So yeah, there is a lot invested for me in that school. But I'll say this: if you want to go back when Les Miles was there, and I always use this example to let everyone know I can be objective. I was the first one that said Les Miles needed to be fired, because I felt like that Les had brought LSU, even though he won a national championship, Les had gotten LSU to a point that he couldn't get us anymore. His offense was old and antiquated. He wasn't willing to change. And everyone, even LSU people, looked at me like, why are you talking about it? Well, because I'm doing my job now. Okay. Right. I see a program that has won a national championship. Louisiana is very fertile with recruits. You can get it. You can get the players you need. But here's a guy who's unwilling to change. And so I called for him to be fired, to the point where people in Baton Rouge, the same hate and you don't love LSU anymore, and like all these different things. But people that know me know I'm going to support LSU regardless. But I have the ability, and I think most analysts, if you look at Marcus Spears and Ryan Clark, like, we have the ability to do our job, but it doesn't change who we are and where we come from.
Sure.
And I think that's important to understand.
Did you have any relationship with Coach O when he was there? I know he's a former Ole Miss coach. Did you have a relationship with him?
Yeah, Coach O was a former D-line coach, man. Of course, we talked ball. I was very involved in Coach O getting hired, man. Because Coach O was an interim, and I'm like, listen, you got to give him an opportunity. Here's a guy, his only job that he ever wanted, I think, was to be the head coach at LSU, and then he wins a national championship. And I think the biggest problem that happened with Ed, and I told Ed this, is that he won a national championship, and it made him think that he was bigger than the program, so to speak. He started to do things and say things that he probably shouldn't have. And I think Ed will be honest, if he, like, in an honest moment, he would say the same thing. I've had a relationship with every coach that has been there since DiNardo. You go with DiNardo, Saban, Miles, Orgeron. Don't know BK that well, just because he hadn't been there a year and I haven't had an opportunity to get down there. But yeah, man, Ed was obviously you guys know at Ole Miss. Ed's a great recruiter.
For sure.
He's a people person. Everybody loves Ed. He's one of a kind. He can sell ice to an Eskimo, which is one of the things that makes him who he is. But I think that he's reflecting now and understanding. He had a good run, and hopefully whatever he decides to do next, he's successful at.
With your job and having to watch as much football, what does a week look like? How many hours are you spending? What is, whether it's college, whether it's pro, what does a week look like for someone in your position?
So I'll walk you through the week. So let's start on let's say when I get ready to leave for the weekend. So depending on the flight schedule, I have to be in my chair at ESPN, ready to go at ABC at 12 o'clock. So we'll come on halftime of the first game, 1:30, 2 o'clock, somewhere in there, usually around 1:30, halftime. And then if there's any time in between the first game and the second game, we call it a fill. So we'll have to do that. And then you rinse and repeat all the way until nighttime. Sunday morning, kind of off. So until the weather changes, I'll get a workout in, maybe go hit some golf balls, relax. I don't have to be at work on Sunday until 1 o'clock. And then I'm doing what you're doing on Sunday. I'm watching NFL all the way until, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And then we do our primetime show where we kind of recap the day in the NFL from 7:30 to 8:15. 8:30, I get in the car, sit in the back seat, open the iPad. I watch the Sunday night game until I get to New York. And the reason I go to New York is because there's so many airports there, I can get direct flights anywhere. And so it's a lot. Like, one thing you know about me, I hate heights, I can't swim, and I hate connections. Like, all those things really, really bother me. So I would rather sit in the car for an hour and 40 minutes and wake up early and catch a flight to wherever we go. Like this week, it was LA. So I caught a flight to LA, landed in LA. I was in LA 12 hours, did our Monday Countdown show last night, went to the airport at about 9:30, caught the red eye at 11, landed in Tampa at 6 o'clock this morning. And like, once I get home, man, I'm a typical husband and a dad, man. Like, I got to, take the kids to school, hang out with the wife a little bit. I'm outside. You guys will laugh at this. I live on about 2 acres, and I got a bunch of oak trees. And this time of year, they shed. And so all my neighbors look at me like I'm crazy, because like every day I got this big blower. I'm blowing my driveway. I hate the leaves being everywhere. So I'm blowing the leaves off in the driveway. I'm barefooted, walking down the driveway, blowing leaves. I get done with that. I'll jump on the Peloton. I usually ride the bike 4 or 5 times a week. So typical stuff, man. My daughter's a cheerleader, so I go to a high school game on Friday night from in town. Yeah. But yeah, kind of rinse and repeat until the college season ends. And then once the college season ends and it's just NFL, the schedule kind of varies. But I've been at ESPN. This is going on my 9th year, man. And I typically work weekends, man. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and during the week I'm at home.
Yep. It's pretty cool working with Berman on primetime. Growing up watching him, it was just him and Tom Jackson were great. How cool is it working with Chris Berman doing primetime every Sunday?
Yeah, man, it's a blast just because, like, I understand that he is one of the founding fathers of ESPN, man. Right. And so, like, I'm literally sitting there in awe that I get an opportunity to watch him do a show that he made famous, 15, 20 years. And so for me, I literally go in with the attitude, hey, when he's tired of talking, then you add something. So I'm like, this is not my show. This is his show. I'm just trying to add like a little bit of flavor to it. But it's fun. It's cool. And like, one of the coolest moments, man, was when he was like, hey, just want you to know something, man. You do a really good job. And for a country boy from Winsboro, Louisiana, who grew up watching primetime and jacked it up in some of these shows, to be where I am now, and Chris Berman, who was there when ESPN started in 1976, I believe, for him to tell me, hey, man, you do a really good job. Like, that's a pretty cool thing, man. Like, I didn't grow up thinking about TV, man. I grew up barefooted, running around Winsboro, Louisiana, man, drinking water out the water hose, chasing dogs, eating syrup sandwiches. You know what I'm saying? So for me to be at that point, it's a really cool feeling, man, and I cherish every episode we do.
Yeah, Booger, you think your playing days, obviously 2-time Super Bowl champion, hard worker, you think that helped prepare you for this job and to be a hard worker and get to where you are? Or is there something you can take from football that transitioned over into this career?
Yeah, I think football is the greatest teacher of life that I've ever been a part of. And this is to take nothing away from my mother. I didn't really know my dad, but I had enough men in my life that way. I didn't miss out on the fatherly things that us being me. But as far as the things that we as parents, I don't know if you guys are parents or not, but I'm sure you've been a part. Like, the things you try to instill in your children: hard work ethic, toughness. When you get knocked down, get back up. Nobody's gonna give you anything. Like, all those little things your mom and dad has told you for so long. Well, guess what? You get it organically in football. Like, it comes organically. So yeah, man, like, football has taught me everything I know, man, when it comes to just how to be a man as far as mental toughness. I think the number one thing we as a society lack, and our children hopefully don't grow up lacking, is mental toughness. Hey, somebody said you're ugly. Okay, who cares? Move on. Like, don't break down and cry. And this is nothing against people that have issues, that like serious health issues. I'm just talking about normal, everyday mental toughness. I'm having a bad day. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to move back. I'm not going to pout my head and cry. I'm going to have a bad day. But you know what? Guess what? Tomorrow's not going to be that way. Like the little things that you take for granted in football, because how many times have we gone on the practice field and we got our ass handed to us one day? Mm-hmm. And you go back and watch the tape and coach is like pointing you out with the clicker. And you got to go back to the next day, and you either going to allow that to affect the next day or you're going to do something about it. And so, like, it's amazing, man, how in my life, like right now, man, I draw on that every single day, man. I try to instill that in my kids. I try to talk to my wife about it. And it's like, that's fun because, like, my wife's a former athlete. She ran track, but it's still a different level, like with football, like just because football is physical, man. Like football will break you. Like if somebody hits you too many times, like you will physically break. And it's, I could go on and on about the sport of football, man. I love it. It's provided the opportunity for me to be where I am today. It's provided a great living. And the game is fun. And I think the college game epitomizes everything that we want because it galvanizes young, old. It galvanizes black and white. Like, it just brings everybody together, man. The NFL somewhat, but it's more corporate. It's more about the money. The college game is just so special, man. And that's why I think every Saturday, like, we sit around and hope we get something like we had in Knoxville this past Saturday. Like when you get that, where the entire country, is locked in, and it's 7:00 Eastern, and it's the fourth quarter. The only thing I wish we'd have had last Saturday was Vern Lundquist, because like Uncle Vern was college football. Like I grew up on Uncle Vern. Like and this is nothing against Gary and Brad. I love them. But man, I grew up on Uncle Vern, man.
Same here.
It's nothing like 7:00. The game is good, and Uncle Vern hits you with the "How do you do?"
Yes,
it's nothing like it, dude.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be so weird with the CBS game going to ESPN now, which is great for you as that's your employer, but it's going to be different not hearing that CBS theme music every Sunday afternoon at 3:30, 2:30, whatever time zone you're in. It's going to be a really big difference whenever that happens, I think, in next year.
Yeah, it's going to be different. Hopefully, I don't know, but if I were ESPN, I'd try to buy the music. Like, you may as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure everything has a price. Like, buy the song and let's move on,
Booger, do you rock the Blue Deltas on game day, or what are you rocking on game day outfit wise?
You know what, man? Game day, I'm usually in a suit, man. And I told Nick, if you ever start making suits, then I'd start buying them. But I got to wear a suit and tie. I rock the Blue Deltas pretty much everywhere else, man. Like, if I got to go, if I'm taking the wife out, I'll put the Blue Deltas on, put a nice button down, and away we go. If I'm going to something that's not business casual where I need slacks and whatever, I rock them, man. Just because, like, the reason I fell in love with them is twofold. Number one is because they're a little stretchy. And like when you're a big dude, the last thing you want is something restricting your movement. So anything that goes with your movement is always a home run. But I never thought about, like, jeans really making you feel like really good, man. Like, when you put these jeans on, they fit perfect. They feel good. Somehow you feel a little less fat. And so it's just one of those things, man, where I rock them anytime I can. And I tell everybody about them, man. Nick can tell you, man. I've given his info. I bought several people at ESPN jeans. Like, we gave away like 50 pair for Christmas one year. I tell everybody about them, man, because it's something that if you can afford them. I told him he need to lower the prices, but he hadn't listened to me yet. But if you can afford them, it's something that most people don't think about buying, because most people just go to the rack and like, I'm gonna get a pair of Levi's or Lucky's, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but those are cool. But if you can afford it, it's nothing like a custom fit pair of jeans, man. So I love them.
You mentioned syrup sandwiches just a second ago, and I see in your Twitter bio that peanut butter is your biggest weakness. So are you a peanut butter and jelly guy, or just spoonfuls, Reese's peanut butter cups? Where's your What's your go-to there?
All the above. Put it on a banana. I eat it out the jar. I don't even hit the spoon. I stick my finger in the jar. Like, it doesn't matter, man. I fell in love with it a long time ago, man. My mother raised 3 kids on about 20 grand. We were on welfare the whole nine. And back in the day, this is before they came out with like the EBT cards and all that. They used to give you a certain number of supplies every month. Well, you got like cheese, peanut butter, you got powdered milk, you got some other things. And the 2 things that I stuck to were the cheese and the peanut butter. Like, the cheese made the best cheese toast I've ever had. And the peanut butter was just unreal. And I thought it was unreal. Little did I know it was the worst peanut butter ever, but I fell in love with it. I did. I fell in love with it because once we had enough money, she bought a jar of Jif, and I'm like, okay, this stuff has a little sugar in it, and now it tastes better. But I was already hooked at that point. So if I got hooked on the free peanut butter, imagine now with all these different flavors. You got Reese's, Skippy.
Yep.
They even got stuff down that you can go to Whole Foods and make your own butter, which is like way too much work. But I love it all, man.
All right, Booger, we'll give you a chance. Last question here. We'll give you a chance to drop your commentator and let you be biased here. Give us your prediction for this weekend, Ole Miss LSU.
Well, I'm not going to give you a score because I think everyone knows where my score would be. I'll give you a couple keys to the game. If you're Ole Miss, you want to get out to a fast start. LSU has struggled early in the game, special teams, a lot of different things. You want to play from ahead because the last thing you want to do is to give a team that most people think that you're better than any hope. Now, how do you do that? Ole Miss is a running football team. I think they want to get out early, maybe hit a pass or 2, and then lean on the running back. Like, the best part of their team is the running backs. Run the football, control the game. Lane feels like he's the best play caller in America, and so he's always going to make sure that he's got the ability to control the joystick. So can Ole Miss run the football when they want to run it? That'll be key. If you're LSU, I think the game is really simple. Which Jaden Daniels is going to show up?
Yep.
If the Jaden Daniels that played against Florida shows up, I mean, LSU's receivers are as good as anybody in the country. I don't think anybody would question that. They just need the ball to be gotten to them somehow. And so if Jaden Daniels against Florida shows up, this will be a fourth quarter game. If the Jaden Daniels against, Tennessee or somebody else shows up, then you know what? I'll be changing the channel early.
Well, Booger, thank you so much for your time, man. It was really special getting to hear you talk, and best of luck to you at ESPN, and we'll see you down the road, man.
Hey, man.
Yeah, Booger, really appreciate it, man.
No doubt. I appreciate what you guys do, man. Nick's been a good friend for a long time. And when he reached out, he was like, yeah, do whatever. Like, you don't have to thank me. Like, I enjoy talking. It's really cool. If you go to Baton Rouge, it's a couple of spots you need to hit. One of them is Paran's. The second one, if you want some good ribs, go by TJ Ribs. If you're looking for some good like Creole food, go by Gino's. And make sure you're ready to go because it's going to be I think it's going to be a really cool atmosphere, man, and enjoy it.
Yeah, you're the first person that we've let get by with giving Nick compliments. So we usually rag him on her pretty hard. So you did a good job of taking up the slack today and giving him some compliments, man.
All good, man. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, appreciate it, Booger.
Later.
That's Booger McFarland on the Neston Wild Hotline. Man, what a great interview he was, man.
Yeah, I'm a huge Booger fan. I respect his background. I mean, you look at, we kind of played on, I was with the Bucks for a second, Colts as well. So is he. Raised not, similar type background. I just love, one thing I respect about him, man, is like he said, he didn't pout growing up, he wasn't given the best situation, but look what he turned it into. And a lot of that goes into, hey, kids were mentally tougher back then. And, he didn't have the greatest upbringing, but man, look what he's turned into, making tons of money, being one of the main, voices of football. And man, every time I like hearing him break down stuff and talk. He's a great personality on there. I mean, huge Booger McFarland fan. That was actually cool to get a chance to talk to him.
Yeah, and he took away my plug for Blue Delta Jeans, so I don't have to do that now. But what I will do is I will mention our friend Jeff Griffin with the Stevenson Griffin Group. So they're one of our new sponsors at Baird Private Wealth Management. You can go to the group's website at stevensongriffingroup.bairdwealth.com or just give them a call at 662-841-1900. That's Jeff Griffin with the Stevenson Griffin Group. So Booger gave us a little bit of a breakdown of where he felt the game's going this weekend. Few things that I found in some of the research that I did, obviously not near as much as Booger does on a weekly basis, is one thing that I was curious about is how bad the LSU special teams are. So one thing that I think the Rebels are going to be able to exploit is the LSU coverage team has been really poor. They had some breakdowns in coverage against Florida last week. Their starting position for offense is at the 27-yard line. So they're hardly getting anything on kick returns. Punt returns, they average 3 yards a return. So they're not really doing anything there, but opponents are averaging 15 yards. So, we don't talk special teams a lot, or at least we have it on this pod. Yeah. But that is an area where, because LSU's they're decent offense and defense, and decent maybe underselling a little bit. They're pretty good in certain areas. Yeah. But one area that they've been weak statistically, at least in the nation, has been special teams. So on the flip side, Ole Miss has been pretty solid on the special team side. Apart from some busted coverages against Kentucky, that could be an area where they're going to be able to exploit the Tigers on Saturday.
Yeah, well, in a game like usually typically talk about special teams, whatever. In a game like this, it may matter.
Absolutely.
And the way I see it is this is going to be a very close game. I mean, I think this is going to be Ole Miss's biggest test. It doesn't have necessarily a lot to do with LSU's talent. I mean, they are a good talented team, but man, this is an environment we have not stepped into this year.
No,
we've never seen Jackson Dart play in an SEC stadium, a rowdy SEC stadium.
No,
and that's my concern this week. And this is a very capable team. Now, LSU's starting to find themselves a little bit. They can rush. I think they're averaging almost 6 yards a carry in the run game. And they have a running quarterback, which I hate. I hate playing a running quarterback. They always seem to give us issues. So this is a game where something like special teams could come down to a field goal. Game when a field goal could come down to a big punt return or a kick return. So that's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, and obviously the big question on our minds after listening to the conversations that we had on Sunday is how is the defense going to respond from last week's game against Auburn? Listening to Lane's press conference on Monday, he broke down a little bit about what he saw. Let's listen to what he says, and we'll come back and talk about it.
I think we started really well. I want to say 4 series in a row to start the game, and and then we jumped out of some gaps and we missed some tackles, and that's usually what goes on in the run game for explosive runs. And we have a lot of people up there, and so when it breaks, they break bad. In what we were doing, because we were up there a lot because of the run and because of the quarterback we were playing. And so the problem with that is when it breaks, there's not a lot of people back there.
So tackling, especially when you've got Jaden Daniels, who's a running quarterback, tackling is going to be imperative as well as keeping your assignments, because you blow assignments, then Jaden Daniels is going to have the opportunity of taking those yards if he needs them. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they scheme up anything differently or just at minimum tackle better than they did against Auburn.
Yeah, no question, man. Like Lane says, we had a lot of people up there, but I wish they were bigger people. That's my fault. I mean, we have a ton of people up there, but they're 195-pound DBs and safeties, where you'd like to have an extra guy in there, a bigger D lineman. And they did that some, down on the goal line and stuff. But I just get the feeling this week, man, we've got to have some kind of adjustment. They're going to see what we did last week, and Auburn, Tank Bigsby was averaging 60 yards a game or something for us, and they just lined up and ran a power counter all game, some kind of zone mixed in there, and wasn't anything special, and they were just able to gouge us. So, hopefully we have a better plan this week, and I think we will. I feel pretty confident that we will, not just roll out the same thing.
I actually had a chance to listen to Brian Kelly's press conference a little bit, and he actually had an interesting breakdown of what they need to do to prepare for the Ole Miss defense. Let's listen to that real quick, and then we can talk more about it too.
It's hard to know exactly where the birds line up all the time. It's 3 down, it's 3-3, 3-4. They're playing with a nickel and dime. They're playing some invert. You don't know where some of the pressures. They're striking from the field. They're striking from the boundary. So you got to be on your toes. This is a week where recognition and understanding where it's coming from is going to be really important. So quarterback's going to is going to have to be on it.
So it really sounds like, Jayden Daniels is going to have to be able to identify what we're trying to do on defense and exploit that. He had a really, really good game against Florida this past week. The last 2 weeks, both against Tennessee and Florida, he's thrown for over 300 yards. He ran for 3 touchdowns last week against Florida too. So if he continues playing at this level, the Rebels are going to be in a battle, and the offense is really going to have to carry them, at least according to how the defense played against Auburn last week.
Yeah, all that tells me, listen to Brian Kelly, is he's going to line up early and just run gap scheme. Hey, struggle to identify them while playing to their strength, right? I'll line up and just pound the ball every time, no matter where they're lined up. We'll just hit gaps. So, yeah, I mean, he's they're going to try to mimic a lot of stuff that's been going against his last couple of weeks.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't either. So, I mean, that's going to be the thing, man. I mean, when you go on the road, you're going to a hostile environment. We're going to have poise in the noise. Hey, you're going to get their first. I mean, that first 5 to 10 minutes of a game on the road is hell, man. You get their best shot. It's like flying butcher knives. They're hyped. They're flying around. You're trying to get comfortable in the environment. We just got to weather the storm when we get there. We got to get there. Can't freak out. Don't do anything crazy to give them any cheap. Let's just get the crowd quiet. Go in there, hit them in the mouth. Let's establish the run. Try to get them 3 and out, and you gotta get in there and be poised. I'm telling you, this week is Ole Miss's toughest test, man, and it has a lot to do with the environment they're about to be in. A lot of these guys are younger. I mean, they have not played in this kind of atmosphere, so it'll be a great test for us. I will coming out of this game. I will either be extremely Kool-Aid out, or I will be like, okay, now really starting to set in. We win this game. We win this game. I mean, you won't be able to control my expectations at that point.
No, because I don't want to talk about a loss against A&M next week, but realistically, if the Rebels can go 1-1 the next 2 weeks, we still control our destiny against Alabama. Right? I'm not going to say that I want us to lose, but I'm just saying that realistically, you go 1-1 these next 2, then I'll be happy because these are the 2 toughest games on the schedule this far.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes is 1-1. Honestly, now do I want to go 2-2, 2-0? Yes,
absolutely. 100%.
Should we go 2-0? Yes. Ole Miss should go 2-0. We are better than both these teams, but the common fan don't realize how much an environment and a little bit of I'm telling you, it's tough, man. It's tough. Road games are hell. They're tough, especially environments like this. Now, I want to see what kind of poise they have in this. It's going to tell me a lot. But what I do like, though, is the run game travels, right? If you can run the ball, hey, and here's why. People say, hey, why do they have that expression? Why does a run game travel? Well, because when you're under center at quarterback, you can hear the cadence, okay, on the O-line. You're under center, you're running the ball, you're able to, quarterback's able to come up, hey, so-and-so, talk to you. Now, when you're in the gun, the cadence is a little harder to hear. In your pass blocking, you have to look at the ball. Silent count is just harder, right? So that's why the run game travels. You can get it and run the ball. You can quiet them down, and it travels well. So we got to get there. Got to run that ball, man. This will be an interesting. I'm telling you that if we get through these next 2, we only got to go 1-1. Now you don't want to go 1-1, but you get through these next 2, and man, Alabama. I mean, you're playing for the West. Either way, either you go 1-1 or 2-0. You're playing for the West in Oxford, essentially. So it's going to be a great 2 weeks coming up.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that this LSU defense is not your traditional John Chavis, Dave Aranda defense that we've seen in years past. They're still good. There's still a lot of talent, don't get me wrong, but they allowed several explosive plays against Florida. Scores of 51-30. I think Anthony Richardson had an 81-yard run for a touchdown. So they're susceptible to big plays, which, as we all know, the Ole Miss offense is more than happy to oblige with providing those big plays. So this is not the deck is stacked against us going into LSU. There's going to be plenty of opportunities on defense and offense to trip up the Tigers, but they're going to have opportunities to do that as well.
Yep, no question there. I think that I just think all in all, man, are we the better team? Yes.
Yes, we are.
Ole Miss is the better team. They are better than LSU. Ole Miss is. But I'm telling you, This is going to be one of those weeks. I mean, it's almost so. What I say, Kentucky game was like the Arkansas game.
Yep,
it was going to be similar to that, and this one has that feel of the Auburn last year, right? Better football team. You go down there, you give them hope. You play like crap early on. You miss a fourth down, whatever, and all of a sudden Auburn beats you, and they shouldn't. Okay, and the difference between a championship team and just a good bowl team is are games like this. Mm-hmm. Can you get down there and get gritty and win one of these on the road? Can you? You're going to have to win a couple of these. You're going to have to win 2 of these in a row here to have a chance to really be a
magical season
contender. Yeah, it is, and this is going to be a lot like that Auburn game last year. And this will tell me a lot if we can go down there and not lay an egg versus a team that we should beat.
For sure. So we'll talk about predictions here in just a second, but some cool things. Quinshon Judkins continues to rack up accolades. He was named Freshman of the Week, SEC Freshman of the Week. And then you had Jared Ivey was named Defensive Lineman of the Week, which are pretty cool. So Judkins had 139 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. He also leads all FBS freshmen in rushing with 718 yards, which is pretty cool. He's number 2 in the SEC. He also is 4th nationally in total touchdowns, right? Ivy had 4 tackles, a sack, second forced fumble recovery. So really cool stuff to see from the Rebels last week. They continue to rack those up. Judkins, like we've said several times, is a star. Another thing that we want to make sure to mention is the A&M game time got announced. So we are going to play a night game at Kyle Field. We were there. Nice. I actually got to go to College Station a few years ago and play a night game, and that was a game that the Rebels won. So it's, they can win in Kyle Field at night. They've done it before. I was hoping it'd be the 11 o'clock game, but, we have to play at night in College Station, another rowdy environment that the Rebels are going to have to go to.
Yeah, no question, man. How about Judkins? Judkins got 10 touchdowns. I looked at it. He's got 10 touchdowns. What how many games are we in? What, 7-0? Like, this kid's going to have 20 touchdowns this season. That's a phenomenal feat. So, man, he's just the man. I mean, did you see the Evans interview? Evans.
No, I didn't get a chance to.
I guess he told he was pretty outspoken on what he said to Judkins. You have to go look it up. It's pretty hilarious.
Okay, check it out. Yeah, for sure. So why don't we get to some of our picks for the week? So we only have 4 SEC games this week. Bradley and I are, we're limping to the to week to week here. We're 12-13 if you're following along at home. So we got 4 SEC games this week. First one that we'll talk about. Let me pull up my little sheet here. Let's talk quickly Vanderbilt and the dreaded Missouri Tigers. So Vanderbilt's headed to Columbia as a 14-point underdog. I don't know why Missouri is giving 14 points to anybody, but here they are. Commodores, Tigers. Who do you like here?
Missouri just sucks. I mean, that's what we say on here. They're awful. They're not good. It's a total Missouri hate pod. Give me Vandy in the upset here.
So you're taking Vandy to win outright?
Yeah, I'm taking Vandy to win outright.
Okay, I won't take that. I will take Vanderbilt to cover. But yeah, so we'll both be on the same page there.
Vandy.
We've got Mississippi State coming off a disappointing loss in Lexington, getting to go to Tuscaloosa to battle the Crimson Tide. Tide are a 21.5-point favorite against State. Where do you go here?
State's going to play them closer. They're going to play them closer than 21 points. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Alabama's that great. I don't. Alabama could have 3 losses right now. And this is not the same Bama team. And State's going to be coming off a loss to Kentucky. This is a classic Mike Leach play it close game. They'll lose by 10, 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you here. I don't know if the Alabama is explosive enough on offense to run away from Mississippi State. Granted, State's offense wasn't great against Kentucky, but I think State's defense is pretty decent. They should be able to slow them down just a little bit.
Do you hope? Think about it.
I want State to win.
Yeah, do you hope State? Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to ask that because it just makes our chances that much better.
Look, I don't care who wins, whatever gives Ole Miss the best chance to make it to Atlanta and beyond. So if that is Mississippi State, our number one rival, winning a game in Tuscaloosa, I will take it 100 times out of 100 because it's what's best for Ole Miss. I always want what's best for Ole Miss. That is number one with the bullet.
Can you handle them though? Like can you handle State fans bragging about an Alabama win? It's already been tough enough to hear Tennessee this week, right? Like I mean, these dudes have. I mean, they have arrived now. I mean, it's unbelievable. Tennessee thinks that they are the shit. Right, I
mean, with State, all I'll say is, look, you lost to Kentucky. Let's tone it down just a little bit here. We beat Kentucky, so relax. But no, I mean, look, whatever makes them feel better, we still have to play them. So yeah, I'll absolutely take a State win. Now, granted, I'm not around a lot of State fans. Maybe you are, so I wouldn't have to hear it as much. But yeah, I'll take a State win over Alabama because that only improves our chances to make it to Atlanta for the first time.
I'm with you there too. It's hard to say. I feel like I need to go rinse my mouth out with some damn Listerine, but I hope I do want Alabama. I'd love a 2-loss Alabama team.
Oh yeah, where we have nothing to really lose playing them in November. Yeah, I'll take that 100 times out of 100. A&M, who we'd mentioned just a few minutes ago, who will be playing next week, they are going to South Carolina. They are a 3.5-point favorite on the road against the Gamecocks. Where are you going here?
Man, that's a tough one. I just don't know what A&M team's going to show up. The team that played Alabama close, or the team that can't beat Appalachian State. Like, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, A&M's going 8-4. I mean, we know that, right?
We know that is their mantra.
8-4. I mean, that's so whatever. I mean, I'm guessing they'll take it this week. I'll give them the win versus South Carolina.
I think South Carolina is going to win this outright. I think that both teams coming off a bye, so no real advantage there either way. I think Beamer's going to have them up and ready to play. They're coming off a win against Kentucky, even though it was without Will Levis. But I believe South Carolina is going to sneak one out against A&M at home. Finally, last game, LSU. The line opened as Ole Miss as a 2-point favorite. That line has shifted. LSU is now a 1.5-point favorite at home against the Rebels. I'm going to take the Rebels winning by 3. I think that's where I'm going to go here. Rebels by 3. It's going to be close. I don't feel good about it. I could see it being 3 both ways, but I'm going to take Rebels by 3 in a very, very close game in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I'm going Rebs as well. I'm going to go Rebs 35, LSU 24. I think the Rebs go down there, play a good complete game. Defense gets fixed. I think we get up early on them. And
like Booger said.
Yep, I think we get up early and take advantage of them, and then they can't get back in it.
Cool. Okay. Well, one last thing that I want to mention is mention our sponsors, Nested Wild, with their mattresses made right there in Tupelo, Mississippi. They are backed by a 99-night guarantee. You can find them at nestandwild.com. And you can also find them on Amazon as well. So great mattress if you are in the market for a good night of sleep. Nest and Wild has you covered with the Nested Wild mattress. So I think that's going to wrap this up. We got basketball season coming pretty soon. Hopefully we'll have Coach Kermit on pretty soon to talk about the upcoming season. Maybe we'll do that during the bye week. We'll see if we can kind of get that going. But yeah, basketball season right around the corner. Rebels have a big one coming up on Saturday against LSU. I'm nervous, but I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, this is hey, you roll it out there. Let's see what happens, man. I mean, this is going to be a big game, man. This really is. This is our toughest test. This is going to be, man, we're either going to leave this game feeling so drunk on Kool-Aid I'm going to be a diabetic, or you're going to be saying, oh, man, I knew one of those were coming. But, man, there's just something about this team, Lane Kiffin, calling the plays, special.
Different mindset.
It really is, man. It's like you get nervous when you think, okay, I got a damn coach that's calling plays that are, he's unbelievable. I mean, he's tough to stop. Lane Kiffin's tough to stop, and that's where my comfort lies, man. This is not the same Ole Miss mindset. Nope. This is a different Ole Miss football team. I'm telling you, it's a different Ole Miss football program. Man, these are games we win now. These are games that Ole Miss wins now, and we need to freaking embrace it as a fan base. So I'm excited about it, man. Look forward to the recap.
Absolutely. We'll be ready to talk to you on Sunday morning to hopefully talk about the 8-0 Ole Miss Rebels. We also want to thank Booger McFarland once again for an awesome interview. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Bradley, until then, hotty toddy, my man.
Yep. See you, Chad. Hotty toddy.
Thanks for listening to the Brad and Chad Show. Follow the boys on social media for more content. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been an OM Network production. Brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans, made in the USA.